What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone had a great weekend. We are back with another fight breakdown. Okay, now I'm doing this breakdown kind of early. This fight between Oleksandr Usyk and Daniel Dubois is going down in July 19th. So we got a little bit over a month before we get this fight. This fight, I believe, is going to be on the zone, and it's going to be a rematch, an undisputed rematch now. Okay, because Daniel Dubois officially has the IBF strap, and Oleksandr Usyk has the other three straps: the WBA, the WBC, and the WBO straps. All right, the Tyson Fury rematch, which was his last fight, um, that was not undisputed because the IBF strap was already relinquished and given to Daniel Dubois, who went on to defend it against Anthony Joshua. Okay. Um, the reason why I'm doing this so early is because, first of all, I want to get back to doing early breakdowns like I used to back in the day. I used to do breakdowns not too much past when the fight was announced. All right. So I want to start getting my breakdowns out of the way early and then probably revisit these breakdowns getting closer and closer to the fight. All right. But I recently had watched uh, I don't know if it was Usyk or Dubois. I recently had watched a fight between one of those two, and it drew me in. And then I started doing film study, and now we're here, me doing a breakdown over a month in advance. And yeah, so so to start off, basically, obviously I watched the first fight between the two, right? The first fight was back in August of 2023, so it was about 2 years ago. Usyk had two fights with Tyson Fury since then. Okay. Dubois had three fights since he lost to Usyk back in 2023. He fought Gerald Miller. He fought who did he fight? Anthony Joshua last, and he fought Philip Hergovich after Gerald Miller. All right. So in that order, it was Miller, Hergovich, who was undefeated at the time, and then Anthony Joshua, who he stopped in like 5 rounds, I believe. Right. And then we had the two Fury fights on Usyk's end. So, um, I guess they've both been kind of active. Usyk is normally fighting once a year. He fought well, both of the Fury fights was last year. All right, and now these guys are meeting again, and it's going to be at Wembley Stadium. Now, the reason why we get in this rematch, outside of the fact that this is going to be another undisputed fight, and Daniel Dubois is coming in with a strap now that Usyk used to have, is because of the controversy in the first fight. You guys seen the fight. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fifth round in that fight where Daniel Dubois landed a hard body shot that put Usyk on the ground. And it was officially a low blow. Okay. And I'm not going to lie. I remember watching this on live. I was doing a live commentary like I normally do on the weekends. And I remember at that moment, I did not think the blow was low. Okay. It was pretty borderline. It was a very quick shot. Um, and at the time, I just thought that it was a good body shot. I've seen fights, we've all seen fights where, you know, punches are a lot lower, more lower to the groin area, or even lower than that. And we just jumped and said low blow. But we got to remember the rules here. When it comes to the rules, it's below the punch can't be a below the belt line. Okay. Now the referee in every fight gives the instructions and tells the opponent of each fighter where it's okay to punch and where it's not okay to punch, because the belt line for everybody is different. Some fighters have it pretty high up, some of them a little lower. Sometimes you can see the navel area, sometimes you can't. Usyk's navel area is actually right underneath the top of the belt line. Okay, so when you see him pull down his trunks every now and then you'll see that his navel is literally right there. Sometimes you can actually see it. So officially, after watching all of the replays and watching the different angles and seeing slowing it down, taking screenshots of the punch. It was low, officially. It was low. Um, I know some people don't believe it was low. Some people feel like it wasn't that big of a deal. It was borderline. Officially, based on the rules, it was low. Okay. Um, Outside of that round in the first fight, I thought Usyk cleared the fight. I think Daniel Dubois might have won maybe one of those rounds in that fight. But out of those, I believe it was stopped in the ninth round. Out of that entire fight, Usyk was clearly winning the fight. I think he dropped Daniel Dubois maybe in around the eighth round, towards the end of the round. And then Triple D got up, continued, and he was stopped in the following round by a jab. He took another knee and he didn't get up on time. All right. Um, so where are we at today? All right. Usyk is 38 years old. Triple D is 27, and he's coming off some of his best performances. And I think he's now officially entered his prime because he has improved as a fighter overall. Okay. So, in my opinion, I think right now at this moment, being that Usyk is just aging each and every year, he is aging, and he's fighting a guy that's already been in the ring with him, has already hurt him in the ring, and not only that, but he's improved since his last fight. And I think right now, and I know Usyk has just fought Tyson Fury 2 times. This may be a very dangerous time for him to fight Daniel Dubois because all the confidence is there, all the momentum is there, and I'm sure that these guys are going to have a better game plan, all right, going into this fight. Now, let's talk a little bit more about Triple D here, you know, in his most recent wins. I mean, overall, 22 wins with only 2 defeats. All right, both of those defeats were stoppages, one by Joe Joyce and one by Oleksandr Usyk. Both of those fights, he was stopped in those fights. Definitely affected by the jab by both fighters, okay, and volume. Triple D, Gerald Miller. That fight happened after the Usyk fight. Gerald Miller, very overweight. I think he came in over 330 pounds, out of shape, inactive. Not the best shape of Gerald Miller, not the best version of Gerald Miller that we've seen. But Triple D was able to stop him in that fight. Even there was a point where Gerald Miller started to rally in those middle rounds and starting to put the pressure on a Triple D that seemed like he was fading a little bit. Gerald Miller came back. I'm sorry. Triple D came back towards the end of the fight and ended up stopping Gerald Miller shortly before the fight ended. There's no similarities there really with Usyk and Gerald Miller. Miller is normally a pressure fighter, a guy that likes to use his size against you, smother you, throws a lot of punches. That's not the version of Gerald Miller that we see. So even though it was a good win, you're not getting much out of that fight outside of, when it comes to Usyk. Now, um, Philip Hrgovic, very good win. Very good win. Hrgovic, undefeated at the time, had sparred Daniel Dubois, came in there with a ton of confidence in that fight. I actually picked against Triple D. I thought that Hrgovic was definitely going to beat him. Hrgovic was doing his thing, had a good jab, had a good right hand, kept landing the 1-2, hard shots. Daniel Dubois just kept coming. He did not stop. Hrgovic could not hurt him. And I believe that Triple D just broke his will. All right. He just kept coming. He kept throwing punches. I didn't like the headbutts in the fight. There was some headbutts and between, some rubbing of the head of Daniel Dubois and everything. I didn't really like that. But he did what he had to do to win. And at the end of the day, Philip Hrgovic pretty much quit in that fight. All right. Mentally, he broke him. And then when it came to Anthony Joshua, another fight that, Anthony Joshua was coming off some good wins. He was looking good. He changed his team. Everything looked real bright for AJ, and the momentum was there for him going into that fight. And AJ just got dominated in that fight. Daniel Dubois in that fight there specifically, all the improvements in Triple D in his game came in that fight. We saw it in that fight. And the one major key thing in that fight, and I know AJ is now on the level of Usyk. Usyk already has beaten him twice. I don't think Hergovich is on Usyk's level. I don't think Gerald Miller's on his level. But the one thing that I've seen improvements with Triple D is his jab. I mean, he really learned how to step in and hit AJ continuously with that power jab. And AJ's always had a solid jab. But Dubois was stepping in and hitting him with that thudding hard jab, right? And then he would just keep setting up his offense with that jab. But the jab was very, very effective. And also from a defensive end, I thought he did a little better smothering AJ's offense. AJ's a good counterpuncher. He was timing Danny Dubois on his way in with the right hand. He just couldn't get it to land. He landed it in the 5th round before he got knocked out. But outside of that, AJ kept missing his mark. He couldn't hit Triple D clean with that right hand, even with the uppercut, trying to time Dubois coming in. With his head down, AJ just couldn't do it. Triple D did a good job smothering his offense. Just didn't stay off him. Those arm blocks blocking the right hand from AJ. He was just doing a good job from both ends, both offensively, defensively. And that jab was just the key of setting up the right hand behind it. All right. So going into this fight, I do believe that even though Usyk clearly beat him in the first fight, outside of that controversial punch, I do think that Dubois in some areas is going to be better in this fight, especially because he's improved with that jab. And now he has the experience in fighting Usyk. I'm sure he's going to be spamming right hands to the body, left hooks to the bodies. I'm sure of it because those were the punches outside of the controversial punch, the low blow. He was throwing a lot of punches to the body. You can tell, Usyk was complaining a lot. We seen him complain anytime he touched him in the body. You're hitting me too, you hit me to the rear, or, he definitely doesn't like the body shots, especially with his style. Excuse me. Going to the body as someone that likes to ambush you, that just likes to step in and throw flurries on you. Attacking them to the body is a way to get them to disengage, to reset themselves, to step back out of, like the danger. And going to the body is one of the key things that Danny Dubois is probably going to do in this fight. But he's also going to improve with his jab, because that jab he had against AJ is different from the jabs that I've seen earlier in his career. He's always had a solid jab. He always used the jab to set up the right hand. But the jab that he was using against AJ was much more improved, in my opinion. So Triple D is the one that has to make the majority of the adjustments going into this fight, because at the end of the day, he still got stopped. Whether you think the punch was clean or not, he still got stopped in that fight. At the end of the day, the fight continued and he got stopped. He didn't almost win, right? So with Usyk, I mean, when I watched the first fight, I'm like, Usyk got this guy, because Usyk, to me, he drains you, okay? With all the movement, all the level changing, you know what I mean? All the feinting, and then using that lead hand as a magic wand, all right? He's doing all this feints with his lead hand. He's changing the speed on his jab when he throws it. He's throwing different time of jab. Sometimes he's looping the jab. Sometimes he's throwing the jab over your lead hand. Sometimes he's just stepping it straight and throwing a power jab. You know what I mean? And then he jabs to the body. He does all these kind of things with his lead hand. Plus, on top of that, he's parrying down on your lead hand. That's going to be sticking out there. Like he's a master at fencing. So it's draining to deal with when you're a guy that's trying to get a rhythm going. You're trying to create your offense. And this guy that's just annoying you and dapping you with this lead hand while you're trying to focus and trying to land a good shot, a clean shot. And when I watched the first fight between Usyk and Triple D, I can see the frustration of Dubois because it's throwing him off. So it doesn't matter if Dubois has good cardio. It doesn't matter if he has good punching power. You know what I mean? When a guy is just he's doing things to distract you in what you're trying to do in a fight, it's very easy to come in there and say, yo, I'm going to just fight harder. I'm just going to go to the body more. Usyk's offense is part of his defense. And he has good defense. But his offense is the strength of his defense. Because when you're trying to go to the body, Usyk is so athletic. He's hopping out, making you swing, miss, right? And now he's coming right back to you with his counter left hand, or he's popping you with more jabs. He's getting in your space. And now when you throw into the body or when you're throwing anything for that matter, he's countering you, and he's countering you with flurries on top of that, you know? Plus, he's using these angles. He's stepping around you because he has the better feet. He's been so good throughout his career as a heavyweight because even though he's smaller than all of these guys coming in roughly around 220, 225, the athleticism, the cardio, you know, rarely gets tired. Even at 38 years old or 37 or whatever age he was when he fought Fury twice last year, it was like very few points where you could see that he was taking a break or he was taking a breather. It's very few points in the fight when you're doing that, when he's doing that. You get what I'm saying? So with Usyk, you have so many things you got to deal with, so many things he does to disrupt your offense. Even if you're trying to be aggressive, we've seen fighters try to be aggressive. Derek Chisora was very aggressive. Triple D was aggressive in his first fight with Usyk. All of these fighters have tried to become aggressive. AJ tried to be aggressive in the second fight. All of these fighters have tried to be aggressive towards him. But the thing is, the fight, when it comes to any Usyk fight, the fight begins in the second half of the fight. When you're done dishing out all you had, right, and you're pulling everything out, everything you need to do in order to win this fight, and once you start gassing out, right, and your punch resistance is lower, your stamina is down, your punch power is you don't have that same snap on your punches like you did in the earlier rounds. That's when Usyk is taking over. And he's been doing this for years as an amateur all the way up to this point. You go to his old fights, he was doing the same thing. And even though he's slowing down a bit, he's not slowing down as dramatically as some of the other fighters that's his age in the game. Because he stays fit, but he's also fighting as a heavyweight. He's smaller and he's naturally faster than all of these guys anyway. And the fights that I seen with Fury, because I skimmed through the fight with Fury, the rematch with Fury, and the differences between Fury and Dubois, whatever worked for Fury, it's different for Dubois because Fury is tall and he has long. He's able to keep his lead hands, his lead hand out there and use his jab to fend away Usyk, to keep him outside of range. Where Daniel Dubois is not really that kind of fighter. He's a come forward type of guy. But if you watch the first fight with Usyk was so overwhelming that he was backing Daniel Dubois up for a good portion of the fight. And when you get a guy that is a guy that likes to come forward as aggressively as Dubois, but you force him to go backwards because you keep touching him with flurries, it makes it harder to be offensive in those kind of fights. You get what I'm saying? So it's a tough fight for Dubois. It's a tough rematch, and I know he's improved. It's a tough fight for him, but it's also a very dangerous fight for Oleksandr Usyk. A fight that he really did not need to take. He got the credit for the win already. You know, but this is the one fight people like to go back to and say that, you know, it was a clean shot. And you know what? It was borderline to me. It was borderline. You know, like I said, when I saw it live, I thought it was clean. Usyk has always been a guy that people said that you got to go to the body, you got to hurt him to the body. And Triple D tried. Um, Anthony Joshua tried. You know, Tyson Fury tried a little bit. Derek Chisora tried a little bit. But when people got to understand here, and Usyk, and I said this probably in the last fight he was in with Fury, what Usyk doesn't get credit for is his chin, his durability. He doesn't get enough credit for that. Between all of the cruiserweights that he fought that has punching power, um, all of the heavyweights that he fought that have punching power and that are much bigger than him, none of these guys have officially put him down. He's got hurt. He's got buzzed where he had to back off from a good shot. But he doesn't get enough credit for his durability. And Daniel Dubois have been stopped twice. One by a guy that was a cruiserweight that moved up, and one by a volume puncher, Joe Joyce, you know, who's far past his prime at this point. Also, Danny Dubois has been hurt, you know, by other fighters like Kevin Lerena, you know, almost getting stopped in that first round. I think there was like 3 knockdowns in that. So the way I see this fight going, I like Daniel's chances of winning, but I don't think he can win on points. I like his chances of winning by KO if he can land a similar shot to the body early on. I'm talking about within 6 rounds. Because the longer the fight goes, the less effective Triple D is to me. You know, I think these early rounds between Usyk and Triple D are going to be very, very tough for Usyk. You know, um, he needs to prioritize defense in these early rounds. Let the big guy come in, punch himself out a little bit, because Triple D is going to be full flat. Like, he's going to be on attack mode from the opening bell. You want to get this guy to burn himself out a little bit. On the other hand, Daniel Dubois cannot just sit there and spam right hands to the body. He cannot do it. All right. It's going to be too predictable. Usyk is going to be prepared for it. He's going to be looking for the body shot. All right. Everything he's going to do is going to be involving getting out of the way of a clean right hand. So Triple D is going to have to use that jab, throw punches, change it up a little bit, come in with more of an arsenal, because he just can't expect to go in there and like, all right, from the opening round, I'm just going to go to the body. You're going to get countered. That's not even realistic. Not only are you going to miss, but you're going to get countered. You're going to get hit and you're going to take damage. It just doesn't work that way. Every time you're thrown to the body, you're keeping the upper part of your body exposed. So I think if Daniel Dubois win, I do think he has a chance to win. Again, this is a very dangerous fight for Usyk, especially at 38 years old. Daniel Dubois, if he wins, I think it'll be by knockout midway through the fight. All right. But Usyk is going to be tagging him. He's going to be out throwing him. He's going to be outscoring him. Even though the Triple D has improved in his defense a little bit, I seen that against AJ. Usyk has much more to offer than AJ did. Usyk is going to be doing all of the key things that he did against Dubois earlier in the previous fight. He's going to be winning that jab battle. Okay. He's going to be countering him. He's going to be landing flurries, and he's going to be backing him up. He's not going to back off and just run for Triple D. And when he does move and circle around Triple D, his hands are going to be up, unlike AJ. He's not going to be an easy target. And I think with time, even if Triple D starts out better this fight, which I believe he will, with time, Usyk is going to get him. And I think Usyk is probably going to either stopping him late or winning a unanimous decision on points. That's my pick. Usyk wins again. Triple D, very dangerous, has a good shot. I think he probably has the best shot right now in beating Usyk. But I'm going to go with Usyk. He always finds out a way to win. And even though he's getting up there in age, I haven't seen much of a difference in his talent. He dedicates his life to the sport. So does Triple D, but Usyk dedicates his life to being fit, you know, not just during training camp. Like guys like that, even though they're aging, I trust to win fights. So I'm gonna go with Usyk winning this one. I'm leaning towards a 10th, 11th round stoppage from Usyk. All right. All right. That's my breakdown. I'll probably talk more about this in the future. All right, because we have a lot of time until this fight. Please subscribe to the channel, smash the like button if you like it, like the video, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.